Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Lake of Voices. I don't exactly remember where I left off, but I think we were still on the guide's route and we were on the middle island where we spent some time with him, and it was kind of interesting to see his thought process a little bit, to see that he does have some emotions, but he's very good at burying them and hiding them underneath everything. And yeah, we saw Kikka break down and that was pretty sad. But I think we already left the island. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've recorded last. But hopefully we'll be able to finish the guide's route today. I am intrigued to see what happens next. So let's see. Okay. I'm guessing it's this one on the left. Alright. Yeah, we left the island, it looks like, and we're back to traveling. Our progress continues steadily, and we still encounter no significant difficulties.
How much longer until we reach the other side? We've traveled quite a ways.
Bemelle's quiet breaking question doesn't sound particularly enthused.
It should only be another couple of hours.
Huh.
Bemelle is unconvinced. It is not only I who notices. The guide suddenly stops. Eerily, he turns his head to the side and looks back at us.
Is there a problem with that?
Ooh, the guide's getting sassy.
Is there?
Ooh, a Bemelle sassing him back. Nice. We've progressed through the bridges at a much quicker clip this time. Bemelle's question was not idle curiosity. He was confirming that fact for himself. I should have known. The guide looks to be slightly irritated over the attitude Bemelle has taken. I'm trying to remember... God, I don't even remember the last choice I made. I don't know. I think we were being nice to him in the middle island and saying, like, it's not your fault that all this stuff has happened. But I'm not sure.
If you have something to say, you should say it. Unless you're afraid that I'm going to leave you behind.
Oh. His statement lands heavily on us. Did he listen to our conversation? There were no sounds to cover our voices. However, I had assumed we were far enough away from the guide to keep our words to ourselves. He stares with such an icy expression, I nearly freeze in place. Bemelle, on the other hand, heats up and grows more hostile. He leaves my side to rush into the guide's flickering light. Dude, we don't have time for this, Bemelle. I know he's kind of a douche, but we need to keep going. We got a job to do, man.
Don't.
This is going much too far. I urge him to come back. He ignores me and takes a stand facing the guide.
Am I right? Are you going to leave us behind after what I've done?
The guide isn't bothered at all by Bemelle entering his space. He gives a level answer.
No.
Well, that's grand.
Okay.
In that case, I'd like to know if I'm on the right track about something else. Are the monsters missing because they've already eaten? Or is there some other reason why they've all mysteriously vanished?
The guide pauses for a moment. His eyes close and he becomes completely still.
It's possible.
Oh? Bemelle glares at the guide over the admittance. It's as though he heard nothing after the first line the guide spoke. The guide is unfazed.
If you enter these bridges, all you should expect is death. That is no secret. You need to stop putting so much energy into finding meaning, or else you will end up like the others.
Bemelle ends up speechless, caught off guard by the guide openly discussing his accusation. The guide continues at Bemelle's silence, annoyance leaking into his voice.
You think that the results would have been different if only I had said more or did something differently, but that is not true. The conclusion would be exactly the same. If Lou hadn't died when he did, he would have been lost at some other point during the trip.
Lou?
Yeah, okay. I just had the same thought. Wait a second. I didn't say it, but how does he know Lou's name? Lou never told us his name when we first met him. He only tells us after we, agree to take him with us, you know? Ooh. Ooh. This is some juicy lore we're getting right here. What's up with this, huh?
Yes, Lou was his name. I had spoken with him in the past. He wanted to cross the bridges. I had deemed him unfit. He was far too desperate and unprepared. There's no helping someone like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Here I got all worked up thinking there was more to it. I did forget that, yeah, he had approached him before. Aw, man, I thought we got some juicy secret, that he knew Lou, or they were family members, or I don't know, something. The guide sounds even more agitated as he elaborates. Bemelle seems to be finished with being surprised. His anger reignites.
If that's all well and true, why haven't you died yet? How is it that you've been able to cross these horrendous bridges over and over again without suffering the same consequences as everyone else?
That's a good question, honestly. That's what I want to know. What is up with you, Mr. Guide? Do you have superpowers? Why are you kind of immune? I mean, he did get injured by them that one time when we didn't save him on the island. The guide's face twists into a vicious snarl. Ooh, that expression. He shouts.
I have died!
Wait, what? What do you mean you have died?
I have no life to give. Everything I am, everything I could have been, was surrendered to this lake. That is the only reason why I'm able to stand before you now.
Ooh. Hearing some passion, some anger in his voice.
I can show you the way, and I can give you advice on how to survive the perils you will face. That is all I'm able to offer. Is that not enough for you? What else do you want from me? Kindness, sympathy. It's been far too many years since I was capable of giving anything like that.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. This conversation's getting juicy. He finally stops to catch his breath, though the emotion in his eyes still shines intently. There is no response from either of us. I feel gut-wrenching sadness for the guide. He deserves to have as good a life as any of us. An agonizing silence permeates the air. No one dares to even move. Oh no. The tension is cut as the boards beneath me start to creak. My eyes dart down. The bridge is sinking. Oh no, like what happened to, Margaret. Oh crap. Rapidly. Instinctively, I jump backwards, but the new section of bridge groans horribly as it too starts to tilt into the water. Oh shoot. They keep getting farther and farther away with each disappearing platform I move off of. Oh, she got separated.
Kikka!
I look up at Bemelle's call. My chest tightens when I see him and the guide on what has become the other side of a small chasm. I leap back just in time as the bridge under me snaps like a twig. Glancing over again, they keep getting farther and farther away with each disappearing platform I move off of. Oh no! Dread creeps up my neck and I nearly lose my footing once I realize what's happening. Desperately stumbling backwards, I finally manage to regain my balance. I use this to leap far back enough that the bridge I land on doesn't immediately start to fall apart under my weight. In another 3 swift steps, I am finally on sturdy wood. The bridges reluctantly stop shifting and settle. The only trace left of what was once a huge section of bridge is a few splintered boards floating away in the murky water, sorry. The lake consumed it. Somehow, I'm not surprised. But what are we gonna do? Regaining my bearings, I face what has become of my circumstances. I am now separated from Bemelle and the guide by a far wider gorge than anyone could leap. My throat goes bone dry as I teeter at the end of the bridge, mind wildly scrambling for a solution that doesn't come. I lock onto Bemelle's face. He's completely aghast, darting from one side of the bridge to the other like a panicked animal. There's no mistaking that he's desperate to help me in some way. However, there's also no mistaking that there aren't any options available to him. He turns to the guide with pleading eyes, all his earlier hostility sunken with the bridges. I'm too far off to grasp what Bemelle is asking, but I get the impression he is seeing if there's another way. The guy turns to me. He's completely cooled down from the earlier interaction, back to his same placid expression. The guide and I lock eyes. He doesn't release me from his gaze for a few heartbeats. Hey, I'm on your route. You can't just leave me behind. Bad ending. No romance for you. He focuses back on Bemelle, who has now gripped him by the cloak. The guide says one word. Judging from the look of pure terror on Bemelle's face, I can only assume it was no. There's no way back to them. Honestly, I don't see any way back. Unless a little boat comes by, but I don't think any boats are able to travel there, so... Holy crap, what's gonna happen? The guide frees himself from Bemelle's grasp and continues speaking. Bemelle still seems horribly shaken at his words. I can barely see from here, but I think he's quivering. As I watch the two discuss my fate, unable to say anything, fear starts to crawl over me. Plus she's alone in the dark, right? There's no lantern. My arms run cool to cold to freezing. It's not long before the rest of my body follows. Did I make a bad choice and now I'm in the bad ending? I notice Bemelle cover his face with his still shuddering hand. The guide's voice echoes loudly across the water separating me from them.
Go back and take the next bridge you come across that goes west. There may be enough time for you to find your own way.
Huh. I blink, taken aback for a moment, before I quickly regain my composure. That's right. This isn't over. I still have my lantern with me. Oh, we do have a lantern. Okay, that's good. The prowlers are less active, and if the guide says that it's possible, it could be true. I nod solemnly at his words and yell back.
I'll meet you there. Don't wait for me.
He bows his head and starts to slowly back away from the edge. Bemelle pulls his head from his hand to look at me. Even across the water, I can tell that he's crying. I smile forlornly at him as the wind whips against my back. I speak softly.
You need to go.
Aw, Bemelle really cares about her, man. He's such a bae. He'll always be Bemelle to me. There's no way he could have heard me, yet I'm confident that the sentiment got across. I spin on my heels and run back the way we came, searching for the bridge the guide said to take. I can only hope that we all safely reunite before this night ends. Kinda weird that I'm separating from the guy, considering I'm supposed to be wooing him. But it's actually interesting, so... I spare a brief glance behind me. However, there's not a trace of them, or even the dead end I was stranded at. With a painful contracting of my heart, I realize that I am truly alone now. Quickly, I shake off the thought and refocus my attention on what's in front of me. The first branching of the path comes into reach. I slow down to a calmer pace and begin my progress down the western bridge. It would be reckless to consider going against the guide's directions. I walk at a moderately brisk pace, not wanting to risk tripping or running out of energy in a moment when I need it. If the eeriness of the lake was disconcerting before, now it is overwhelming. The blizzard-like fog drifting over the waters limits my vision to the span of my arms. Oh no, they're there! The utter silence was a comfort, despite how otherworldly it felt. But the whispering of the lake has started to stir now. I gulp despite myself. They've noticed me. As their chattering grows, I briefly consider if the others hear them as well, or if they have come out specifically because I am on my own. I straighten my back and walk more surely. I cannot let them believe I am an easy target. I even consider keeping my sword in hand, but it doesn't seem entirely likely they would realize it is something that could hurt them. To keep my mind from wandering into dark places, I count my steps like we used to in training. 1, 2, 3, 4. Despite my best efforts, things are starting to get to me. My worries wash over me, causing painful twinges underneath my clothes that make me jerk and twitch like a fly-bitten horse. The whispering, inhuman voices, the feeling of vulnerability, the horrible thought of being hopelessly lost all melded together is consuming me. My pace breaks from the steady rhythm of my counting set. It quickens more as I start to succumb to fear. My brisk steps turn into long, frantic strides. Something in me whispers, "Faster, go faster, don't let them catch you," and I listen. I break into a run. Like moving on landmines, flashes of fear explode in my mind and drive my feet harder, faster, stronger along the path. That's a song! Sorry. Until suddenly, my sense of reason returns and I stop dead. My chest rises and falls with deep heaving breaths as I try to calm myself down. Yeah, you running is just gonna make them notice you more. The monsters erupt into an inharmonious chorus of what sounds to be wicked laughs. I fight the urge to shout back at the creatures. This feels like a nightmare I will never wake up from. I take another breath and resume my measured progress. It's difficult to tell how much time has passed. It must have been hours, however, judging by how much energy I've expended. Since the time I recomposed myself, I have not stopped walking for a second. Despite how much distance I've put behind me, the twisting route still feels endless. I weave through the labyrinth, not allowing myself to dwell on the whispering creatures hidden below my feet. Oh! Suddenly, from out of the nothingness, a faint light appears in the distance. It floats peacefully through the fog as if beckoning me towards it. The worry that my tired eyes are playing tricks on my mind drives me to furiously rub them and look again. There it remains, drifting alone. Are the bridges ablaze again? No, the light isn't growing. Could it be the shore? No, it's your bay. and the guide. No, just kidding. Mesmerized, I begin to sprint towards the phantom light. The shine gets brighter and sharper until the source becomes clear. It's the lantern of the guide. He's here. Wait, where's Bemelle? My eyes widen incredulously as I stop in front of him. I cannot believe this. We were able to reunite in this maddening world of fog. No, what the fudge? You let Bemelle die, you a-hole. And he died off screen? No! I'm very upset right now. No matter the shock, I notice immediately that he stands alone. Bemelle is not with him. The weight of what that means hits me like a physical blow. I can only manage one word.
Where?
On the shore.
On the shore? What? How? A fountain of questions fills up my mind. Yet I am no longer capable of releasing any kind of sound. Wait, he's alive? And does that mean you left him there and came back for Kikka? Ooh. That's a romantic choice, I suppose. Man, but you guys got there fast. Seeing the struggles I'm having in processing what's happening, the guide reaffirms the fact of the matter.
We reached the other side. No one has died.
Oh, thank God. Ooh, that's such a relief. Because, come on, we've already lost Margaret and Lou. It's like, to lose Bemelle too would have been horrible. Fractions of tears form in the corners of my eyes, and for a brief moment, I'm completely overjoyed. Bemelle made it. He is alive. Safe. Now that it is obvious, I fully understand. The guide unceremoniously turns around and heads down the bridge.
We need to move quickly.
I blink several times, unsure of how to react to what could be considered a miracle, but I instinctively follow to avoid being left behind. Our journey continues. The bridges, the lake, the destination, and the guide, they are all the same as they ever were. Yet for me, nothing feels the same. I've lost my sense of grounding. In this strange new situation, talking to the guide does not seem especially daunting. It makes it possible for me to finally speak aloud what has been lurking in my mind.
Why are you here?
If he truly made it to shore, what would compel him to return to the maze? It's a risk he of all people would know is great. He did it for you. Ooh. Like, if we weren't romancing him, he never would have done that. Every other time he's like, screw you. He answers without turning. I am not allowed to see his face, but I get the sense that he is frowning.
Do you assume the death of a traveler is my first choice?
It kind of feels like it sometimes.
To have any worth as a guide of this lake, you cannot be a fool. But neither can you be a coward. I knew that you would still be here.
Okay. The guide leaves it there. Again, my eyes well up with tears that threaten to spill over. He believed I would survive. He put his trust in my abilities enough to come find me.
Thank you.
I watch the guide's smooth gait as we continue on. Countless thoughts I want to tell him dance around my mind. However, he is the one to break the growing silence. That is surprising in and of itself. What he actually says is even more so.
Would you like to tie a string between us?
Why? Eh?
What?
Tying a string from my wrist to yours will ensure we don't drift too far apart, and is a reminder you're not alone. If someone is taken, the string will snap. It is calming without putting either person in further danger.
Oh, he never suggested this before. Interesting.
It cannot be done when there are many people. The lines would become tangled. Since it is only the two of us, it is an option I can offer you.
He flicks his eyes back to search for my response. Well, I think it's pretty obvious we have to say yes, right? That little chime to me means romance. And the music changes too. I stand awkwardly, dumbfounded at the offer. Somehow, the idea makes me nervous. Let me save that actually. Yeah, let's save that. Makes me nervous, but I cannot argue its benefits. The guide ceases walking as well, and dives a hand into his coat. I fidget in place, trying to remain alert. After rummaging for a moment, he brings a spool of string out of his pocket. The guide pivots his body and tosses it to me. I manage to catch the spinning spool in the air as it attempts to unravel.
Tie it to the end of your wrist and then throw it back.
I do as instructed, tying the knot tight. After giving the guide a signal, I toss the string across the length of the bridge to him. It creates a thin brown lifeline between us. He catches it dexterously with his free hand. Turning to the side for a moment, he rests his staff in the crook of his arm. He snaps the string, storing the rest of it away, before he locks the other end onto his own wrist. The guide gathers a section of our link in his hand and tugs on it, making sure that my side isn't too loose. He stares down the path at me and we make eye contact. As he gazes into me, I notice that there isn't any emptiness in his eyes, only strength. When did he change? I begin to wonder if I was the one who had to change in order to see what was always there. He shifts his focus away, and the action pulls me forcibly back into reality. I wait for the guide to get proper hold of his staff, and then we begin walking once more. The whispers of the lake ring loudly into the night. Occasionally, I steal a look down at the string. The effect it's having on me already is quite remarkable. Seeing it connect from my wrist to his does make me feel far better. It hasn't made us safer, but the dread of being left alone again has faded. I find myself wishing I could get those thoughts across to him. However, I am aware enough to know that this is not the time for those kinds of concerns. The whispers die down until they completely dissipate like steam in the cold. The remaining sounds in my sphere of awareness now are our footsteps and my measured breathing. Earlier, the guide mentioned that talking amongst one another was fine, as long as you remained aware of what is happening. I wonder whether he would mind conversing. Okay, so this is... I thought we were really close to the end of his route, but maybe I'm wrong. It looks like we still got a ways to go then. Interesting. I'm kind of debating if I should end this episode now or continue on. I could go like another couple minutes. It isn't to divert worries like it was on the first night. It's that I would like to hear him speak further. The more I've learned about him, the more interested I've become. Okay. I guess we're gonna talk to him then. Guide?
Yes?
Is it still appropriate to speak? If so, I would welcome a conversation with you.
He is silent for a time. The anticipation wraps itself taut around my neck as I wait for his reply.
I have a name.
What?
At the beginning, when I explained that silence was not necessary, your first comment was asking my name. I lied then. I do have a name.
Ooh! We learn your name? Maybe we are closer to the end than I thought. Okay, I'll keep going. Okay. I find myself at a loss for words. It's such a small thing, and yet it feels momentous. He has a name, lied to me about it, is admitting to the lie he got away with, and he remembered my question even through the chaos. Without persuasion, he unveils more.
I do not wish to share it. Explaining why is also undesirable. Thus, I've come to tell others I simply don't have one.
Bruh, if your name turns out to be Dillard, I'm gonna go crazy. I don't know why it's become like a joke, but like seriously, I was kind of wondering if at some point it was gonna happen that somebody was gonna end up becoming one of those Nixie creatures. Like I don't know why I thought that might happen, but it hasn't happened. So, oh well.
It's surprising how easily others accept something as unusual as not having a name.
Despite facing away from me, I feel his last line was spoken through a smile. Still, it is admittedly quite strange. Even if someone is unnamed at birth, there is nothing stopping them from choosing their own. I grow red-faced at how that never occurred to me all this time. It wasn't degrading, but pointing that out may have been an unintentional jab at my expense. He does not speak further, and the delicate pleasantries between us evaporate. His silence isn't the sort caused by a lack of topics. Rather, it's pensive. He's thinking on something. I'm sad we don't know your name, though. I wait for him. I would rather let him finish his thought than rush to fill the void with just any words. And he does finish.
It is easier to leave someone calling for help when they aren't pleading to you with your name.
Ah. In the back of my mind, I worried it had to be something like that. I don't bother asking him the obvious burning question. If he wanted me to know, he would have said it. He's still afraid to give me his name. I go with the next option instead.
How long have you been known as the Guide?
I cannot say for certain. The past is something of a blur to me. Keeping count of time is difficult when so little changes on Sinlos. I imagine it must have been several years.
The guy couldn't be significantly older than I am. Such a large part of his life belongs to this lake. I tried to give the dour thought a positive light.
Very few would be able to manage that position with so few years behind them. You are highly talented.
Just like my father.
Oh, give me that lore. Oh, this is a turn in the conversation that I had not expected.
I recall hearing many similar comments back when I spoke with those who knew Garvin.
Oh, so you'll tell me your daddy's name. Okay.
Garvin the Exemplar led his people to so many victories. He is a genuine hero to my village. I admit, it is curious to speak with his progeny.
You're not. I am not Garvin's son. He would tell you so were he still alive.
Oh? But he is your father, right? You're just saying that he would disown you or something. I flinch at his words and immediately regret mine. I spoke so brazenly. It was nothing but thoughtless. I ready apologies, however, there isn't an opportunity to even open my mouth before he adds more.
I know that when I was very young, I had no one to help me. I was to take care of myself. One day I decided to travel to the shores of Sinlos, where Garvin was. No one attempted to stop me. After many years on the battlefield, Garvin claimed territory in the area and founded villages. He wanted to understand the mystery of the bridges, or perhaps find another way to cross. To him, the dangers were a new fight, a new purpose.
Interesting.
He was deeply wrong. Sinlos is far more than that. There was a presence residing in the lake that they didn't truly understand at the time. I didn't like what was happening. I tried to convince Garvin and his men to break their encampment and move on. It was at first assumed that I was merely a strange, overly fearful child from one of the nearby villages. However, with my persistence in getting him to go somewhere safe and the way I looked, it didn't take long for the rumors to start.
Hold on. So he's not your birth father? Maybe he just, like, adopted you, kind of? Why did you say the way you looked? Is there something wrong with the way you look compared to people?
Garvin did all he could to snuff out the belief that I was his child. To this day, I wonder if that was the reason he refused to listen to me, or anyone else who began to think leaving might be for the best.
See, I get confused if he is his biological child or not, but oh well.
After several weeks of investigation, Garvin walked out onto the bridges as he had done many times prior. He brought with him a long rope which he tied to the dock. Usually he was able to return from his brief trips without any issue. However, that night, he never returned. His men pulled in the rope and found there was no one at the end. The rope was slashed through. That was when the creatures got their title, Nixie.
Okay. Well, he did.
The loss of Garvin the Exemplar was significant. Many years passed before any large effort was made to approach the lake again. During that time, I retreated from the public eye. It would have been too much for me to hold on to what Garvin left behind. That life wouldn't last, for eventually interest in Sinlos as a connector between villages on opposite sides was ignited. I could not ignore it. I made my return to society to continue what I started. Despite Garvin's view on me, everyone from the original endeavor recognized me as his son. I was allowed to be directly involved as a member of the group. There were new attempts to cross the bridges. I was the first to survive it. All who were on the journey with me were lost. I left whoever had difficulties to the maze.
Phew. You got started doing that at a young age, didn't you?
It was a seemingly endless night. Death was at every turn. However, turning this back was not an option any longer. They were now willing to accept the loss of a few if it could mean success in the end. I cannot criticize them for it. I was willing to accept the same for my own cause. I continued to cross the lake solely to show people firsthand the horrors. I told myself that I was to survive the trips at all costs. If I didn't, what would become of my hope for the future?
Okay.
The ones who did not live to tell the tale were an inevitability I did not turn away from. My remorselessness, innate talent, and luck were what enabled me to make it across each time. And then it came to be that no one who knew of what lies in Sinlos wanted to cross without me. My experience was invaluable. I used that to my advantage. They wanted a way to cross the lake, and I could give it to them. I took my position as a guide, and the rest of the group returned to protect their villages from the many other threats that plague this land. It was considered a success.
The guide shakes his head, ending his story. I have trouble responding immediately. It is much to take in. Eventually, I do manage to respond.
I appreciate you sharing all of that with me.
There's a sigh.
It has been too long since I have explained myself to anyone. What happened then should not be a mystery. And yet, it is difficult for me to speak of.
He doesn't say anything more. However, I get a forlorn impression from him. I can see a whisper of it in his eyes briefly before he turns away. We got some lore! Cool. Interesting. I'm not sure how close we are to land, but we have definitely made progress at a steady rate. I find my vision drifting down to the string between the two of us. It delicately sways to the rhythm of our steps. It eases my mind. You know, I feel like we're so close to the end, but I don't know how long this is gonna take, and it's already pretty late where I am. Sorry. Yeah, we're already like almost 40 minutes in. So I'm gonna have to leave this episode right here, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this. And until next time, have a nice day. Hopefully we'll finish it next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And also make sure to ring the bell for notifications for new episodes. You can follow me on Twitch, where I stream every week. And also follow me on Twitter for updates. Until next time, have a nice day. Adios!